What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! Let's go! My God, let's go! We ready? Let's go to the house! Let's go to the house! It's a wrap. Game over.
Nope, the game is not over. In fact, it's just getting started right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. And man, this show was so important. I had to go to the heavy hitters. I had to pull him all the way out of the Crescent City. I'm talking about Mr. CrescentCitySports.com, Mr. Hard in the Paint. Nobody else but my brother like no other, David Grubb. What it be like, brother?
It's been a good week, a busy week, a strange week. Yesterday was crazy, but yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Bruh, first of all, what's going on with the Dome Patrol? You know, I love all of your shows. But that Dome Patrol, bruh, is the business. What's going on with y'all?
Yeah, we did our kind of season wrap up this week in the big picture. We talked really about the things that really crippled the Saints down the stretch. Injuries. We talked about hiring across the NFL. Yeah. That was something that was really important to us. And
we're going to talk about that today too, by the way.
And it was also on Inauguration Day, so there were some things that we wanted to get off our chests about that, just in the context of what these past years have been like for us as men, as Black men, and dealing with this and just what we think going forward. So, it wasn't our completely typical one, and we'll still be churning them out through the off season because there are a lot of things to talk about with the Saints in the NFL, and I just couldn't appreciate Ross Jackson more for what he does for the show.
Yeah, no, I feel the way you feel about Ross. I feel that way about you. Literally, when we saw everything kind of breaking down this week, and then what happened yesterday, we're down to one opening in the NFL as a head coach, and that's the Texans' job. The jargon back and forth about why Eric Bieniemy doesn't have a job right now, and that nonsense that he doesn't interview well. And you know me, I call names. Aaron Wilson from the Houston Chronicle that put that nonsense out. After what I heard, Dan Campbell get up there and sound like the meatest of the meatheads. It's just unconscionable. So I said, let me call David, and let me see if I can't get David on here because we got to talk about it all.
Because like with Dan Campbell, just my perspective as somebody who grew up a Lions fan, I've been a Lions fan as long as I can remember. That's the first team I was ever introduced to. And in my lifetime, going back longer than that, since 1970, the Detroit Lions have had a grand total of 6 10-win seasons. Since 1970, we're talking 51 years.
Yep.
6 10-win seasons. 4 of those have been provided by coaches of color. Jim Caldwell and Wayne Fontes.
Right.
4 of those 6. Lions been to the playoffs 12 times in that 50-year stretch. 12 times.
Yep.
Those Black coaches provided 6 of those 12 playoff appearances.
Look at that.
They're the only coaches to go multiple times to the postseason. They're the only coaches Caldwell's the only one to retire with a winning record. Well, get fired with a winning record in Detroit.
Yep.
Wayne Fontes is the winningest coach all time in franchise history. Neither one of them has gotten a shot since.
Nope.
And the fact that we can say Eric Bieniemy's name is also a problem because he's the only one that when people bring it up, it's like, well, we're talking about Eric Bieniemy, but it's bigger than that because Dan Campbell doesn't fit any of the criteria that you've been talking about. He's never called any plays. Yeah, he did an interim head coaching job in Miami, but let's not act like he didn't assemble a staff. He was there just like anybody else gets an interim job. Somebody had to hold it down till the end of the season. We go find the person we really want. That's what his job was. So let's not pretend like he's had this great well of coaching experience. Let's not pretend that Dan Campbell was this hot name out on the market that people had been talking about for years. Nobody was rushing to get Dan Campbell. So you keep changing what the guidelines are, where these people come from. You see coaches come up and get their jobs after their 10 years in the NFL, have never really had any real responsibility, and they get head coaching jobs. Special teams coaches who get jobs. linebacker coaches who get jobs, positional coaches who get jobs, all these things. And they say, well, we need coordinators. You need to be a coordinator. Well, I'm not seeing a lot of coordinators getting hired. I'm not seeing guys who had that experience in the NFL. I'm seeing guys who were assistants. Right. And that to me says that it's never been, it just continues to reaffirm. It's never been about the experience, because that's the same stuff we hear in every facet of life. That when you go out to get a job, the reason we're just trying to hire the most qualified person. Well, why is it then? It seems like it's really lucky that the most qualified person always happens to be white. That's a fantastic coincidence. I wish I had that kind of luck.
You know what I mean? Real quick, man, before we got to take a break, let y'all hear from Mr. Dan Campbell himself when he was at his press conference. Here's who the Detroit Lions said, we got to have him. We got
6 years. 6-year contract.
We're going to kick you in the teeth. All right. And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. All right. And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing. All right. That's going to be the mentality.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's the head coach of the Detroit Lions. That's the guy they said, we got to have him. Was any of that intelligible? Did any of that make any kind of sense as from a guy who is going to run a multi-billion-dollar organization?
I guarantee you the players were laughing. Like, this is a joke. You don't do this in the NFL. This is not what these players want to hear. And it's a joke that he associated the city of Detroit that way. He started off and he tried to make this a compliment and say the city of Detroit, the people are resilient, which they are.
Right.
They've been through a lot and they fight back. They have.
Yep.
But then you're going to talk about this is Detroit?
Yep.
That ain't Detroit. Detroit is not about biting off kneecaps. That's not Detroit. Yep. That's not who those people are. Yep. They're decent people. They are hardworking people. They are all of those things. They are not biting people. They're human beings. So don't turn the city into that. Don't debase your players that way. They're going to compete. Say that. We're going to compete every day. But we've heard this before. The Lions have done this before. NFL teams try this. And every time you bring in a coach who talks like this, I just start counting down to the days getting fired because that coach ain't gonna last. People who come in and talk like this never last.
That's what it looks like. We're not looking for your first Super Bowl. We're not looking for your first NFC championship. We're not looking for your first NFC North title. We're looking for the day that you get fired because you don't get it. You don't understand what it takes to have this job. And it's not biting people. It's not this rah, we're tougher than you mentality. It's not that.
We tried that with Jim Schwartz. How did that go? How did that go?
Let me take my first break. We'll come back. We got to get back into this because, I've got a theory about the owners of the NFL that most folks don't like. And I've also got a theory. I've got a suggestion for Eric Bieniemy, and most folks won't like that either. It's the lunch break. It is our Freestyle Friday. I got David Grubb joining us, host of Hard to Paint, here on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they are able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-603-9359. 800-603-9359. That's 800-603-9359. Here's an important COVID-19 school system update for your local area. If you're concerned about your child's education, please pay close attention to this message. The current school systems were not set up for at-home learning. If you're worried that your child may not be getting the grades they need to get ahead, maybe losing self-confidence, or you're worried about them getting into a good college because of their grades, help is available to you. Call Grade Potential Tutoring. They can help with in-home or online tutoring and help your child with any subject at every grade level, even for test prep. They're experts in the home tutoring and online tutoring field and confident they can help you and your child get better grades today. Call now for your free consultation. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. That's 800-580-7680.
KYOK 1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legend continues.
Now let's get back to the lunch break with AJ on the legendary KYOK 1140 AM and 92.3 FM.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones. I got my brother like no other from a different mother all the way over there in Louisiana. Joining us here on Freestyle Friday, it's David Grubb. And David, again, I'm not going to beat up on Detroit, not going to beat up on Dan Campbell. He got the job. He going to take those people's money. I ain't mad at it. Get your cash, bro. And I feel for the players. I feel for the players. I feel for Matthew Stafford. I mean, this is clearly his twilight, and you don't need a meathead coming in there leading you if he is even still with the team, and others, man. These guys' livelihood, their next contracts, their next jobs are dependent upon a guy like this. And I don't know, bro. I don't feel good for the brothers up there.
I don't think Matthew Stafford's going to be back next year. First,
I don't either. That's what I'm saying. You just don't know.
So yeah, I'm betting that Matthew actually ends up in New Orleans. That's where I think he might end up. But no, players aren't going to respond to this. This is not. They know their jobs. That's not their problem. Look at what Brian Flores did in Miami. That team was bad when he got there. Bad. Yep. And they were supposed to go over. And he squeezed 4 wins out of that team after guys said that it was so bad that players asked to leave because they said, you are trying to lose and I'm not. Like, that's the legitimate situation he was put into. And now he had his team on the precipice of the playoffs this season. They don't give us those same situations. They don't bring us into those things where, when they want to turn it around, they want discipline, they go get a white coach who's going to be that. Whenever that's the talk, whenever they say a team needs discipline and toughness, where they go find a white coach who talks like that.
Yeah. You
can't tell me Mike Tomlin is not tough. You can't tell me Raheem Morris isn't tough. You can't tell me that, Todd Bowles, all these men aren't tough. You can't tell me that, but they don't have to go around and yell like that. And I don't think Bill Belichick goes around and yells at his players like that. I don't think the place that he's coming from in New Orleans, Sean Payton doesn't treat his players or the game like that. I've never heard Sean Payton say anything like that. Yep. So great coaches, show me the great coach. Show me a Bill Parcells. Show me a Tom Landry. Show me Chuck Noll. Any of them who preached physical toughness as part of the game.
Right.
Did they ever do that?
Yep.
Did they ever act like it was a game of machismo that I have to prove to you how manly I am? That's some old what's your boy at Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy stuff right there. You're not impressing anybody with that.
Yeah, very good analogy. One of the All-Pro players up there literally said that Jim Caldwell had more rules than Matt Patricia, but Jim Caldwell respected them as men. Whereas Matt Patricia is F you this and forget you that and treating them like they were little boys. And like you said, that wasn't going to work. Dan Campbell's, rah-rah. You can change the culture, but you can also change it the wrong way. And I feel like Campbell is going to come in here and try and change the culture to some high school mediocre football team. And I'm sorry, this is PhD level work, bro. We done graduated from college. We go for PhD, high level work, and you're not up here with us.
They were supposed to, all the time they talk about these guys supposed to bring in strategic and competitive advantages. That's what the problem has been. The problem is Detroit Lions have not had enough people on that field who were good enough to compete at a high level, and they've been brought coaches in after Jim Caldwell.
Right.
Now you replace Jim Caldwell. What are you getting? You're getting worse.
Right.
Because you said he wasn't going to get you any further. Well, you haven't had a winning record since he left. He had 3 of them in 4 years. You haven't come close since then, in those 3 years since. So, I mean, it's embarrassing to me that this stuff keeps going on, that these things keep happening. And you see these coaches jumping to the front of the line who have no experience or who have never shown any innovation. Like, what about Dan Campbell? You know, when everybody was going through the thing about offensive innovation, what about Dan Campbell screams offensive innovation? What about that? He's hired Aaron Glenn from the Saints staff to be his defensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn is an extremely respected person in that position. But why does Aaron Glenn have to do it this way? Why does he have to go outside to find that promotion to the next level? Because otherwise, nobody else was calling Aaron Glenn to be a defensive coordinator this offseason.
Yeah, I've had the chance to meet Aaron Glenn personally, sit down with him in some business meetings as we were trying to do things around the community here in Houston. And there is not a sharper brother, period. There's not a sharper man, period, out there. I mean, this man knows it from the inside and out. And, again, for certain people to have to prove themselves, Stephen Wilkes having to go to Missouri to be a defensive coordinator, and you're going to bring Cliff Kingsbury out of college where he had a losing record. And I'm sorry, still hadn't had a winning record in the NFL. 8-8 ain't winning. It ain't losing, but it ain't winning. And with all that talent that he had, I'm sorry, and I know folks don't like to hear this, it is a double standard. It is not the same. It is not the same. Dan Campbell never organized, strategized, called any kind of offense or defense. Miami said no thank you. They had the opportunity to hire him there from within, and they said after 12 games, no thank you. And where did he prove himself from there?
He's been the tight ends coach with the Saints. That's where he's been. And that's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Cool. But,
and you just said it right. That's fine. Nothing's wrong with that. If that's what it is now, use it for everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing is the rules don't ever apply. They don't, because the things that they'll say, are you telling me that Brian Bieniemy interviews worse than Dan Campbell?
Ain't no way.
Is that what you're telling me?
I don't think Adam Gase interviewed worse than Dan Campbell. I'm just gonna tell you that's one worse all time.
That's what I'm. So tell me that and explain this to me too. If I really want you, there are people that I could tell are not. You can see coaches. You can say that you can tell that they're not great interviews. I don't need my coach to be a great interview.
Right.
That's not what I'm asking for. Do you know what you're talking about? When we get to the putting together of a football team part, when we get together to your offensive and defensive philosophies and what are you going to do to have a plan for the players that we have in place? Right. How many of them need to go? If you can tell me those things, then we don't have the rest of it. I don't need you to put on a show for me. Yeah. Because that's not what the job is. Because they're lying if they're saying that's what the job is. Because otherwise you wouldn't see them targeting coaches and hiring them straight off the street, sight unseen, and saying, I want that guy from a distance. Come on. What is Urban Meyer? What is Urban Meyer selling that you already don't know about him? That you don't know the problems that he brings both to your organization ethically and then just himself as an individual, that when things get real hot, all of a sudden his health gets bad and he's got to go. David,
stay right there. Let me hit this sponsor real quick. Coming right back after this from OMG Tires and More.
Hi, I'm Linda J. I recently purchased 4 new tires from OMG Tires and More, located at 3124 Tidwell between 59 and Jensen. TK got me in and out in less than 30 minutes. While there, I got my car washed. Do you need rims for your car? OMG has them too. OMG Tires and More is your one-stop shop for all your tire needs. So give them a call at 832-767-3211. That's 832-767-3211. Conveniently located at 3124 Tidwell between 59 and Jensen on the north side.
Here's an important COVID-19 school system update for your local area. If you're concerned about your child's education, please pay close attention to this message. The current school systems were not set up for at-home learning. If you're worried that your child may not be getting the grades they need to get ahead, may be losing self-confidence, or you're worried about them getting into a good college because of their grades, help is available to you. Call Grade Potential Tutoring. They can help with in-home or online tutoring and help your child with any subject at every grade level, even for test prep. They're experts in the home tutoring and online tutoring field and confident they can help you and your child get better grades today. Call now for your free consultation. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. That's 800-580-7680.
The legendary KYOK 1140 AM. The legendary KYOK 92.3 FM. Two radio stations in one.
I'm Larry Scott, host of the Not So Christian and Me Show. Join me Saturdays for great fun, interviews, music, and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with real conversation in a no judgment zone. So join me Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Not So Christian and Me Show, right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 AM, and the all-new 92.3 FM and KYOKradio.org.
Now let's get back to the lunch break with AJ on the legendary KYOK, 1140 AM and 92.3 FM.
Don't forget, if you are a CDL licensed driver with a good driving record and a TWIC card, there is a reputable company that would like to talk to you. The number to dial for more information, 832-767-3211. That's 832-767-3211. If you've got a CDL, a good driving record, and a TWIC card, somebody out there of substance wants to talk to you. All right, we're back here on the lunch break. Freestyle Friday, talking with my brother David Grubb, and you were right in the middle of a very good point, and I had to pay some bills. So pick that up where we left off before the break.
Yeah, you see, again, Urban Meyer, a guy with no NFL head coaching experience, coming from the college game.
Right.
He hasn't served as a coordinator or any of those things in the NFL. He's not young in that regard, and he brings some problems. He's a person that bailed on multiple schools and has used his health as the reason why. And it's always seems strange that he gets healthy when a really good job comes along. And then when things go bad there, it's time to go. The consistent changing of the rules, whether it's in football, basketball, whatever, there are no black John Calipari's. You could not get three Final Four stripped from your record at different schools and have people say, okay, keep your job. That doesn't, or continue to get jobs. There are no black Rick Pitino's who can get caught up in a sexual assault, sexual scandal and have prostitutes on campus. You're not getting another job. So the double standard is the problem, that it's not that you begrudge the coaches who get hired, but there's so many others who never get the opportunity, and then in particular never get a second chance, when we statistically know that if you're a black coach, you get one chance at being a head coach. You don't get two.
That's true. It's just the truth, David. It's just the truth. And you know what? When you said that about John Calipari, I start thinking about John Chaney. When John Chaney was like, bro, I will kill you. Like you're doing it in a way that you're messing it up for everybody. And you got the nerve to have my name in your mouth. I mean, Calipari was, bro, they ain't too many people slimier than him. And Bill Self's a real close second.
But he'll get another job.
These guys are beloved. programs are constantly in trouble. Calipari left multiple programs in trouble in his wake before he got to Kentucky. And oh yeah, by the way, there were a couple times when they were looking under the covers in Kentucky. But where is he? Still there.
So these things just don't, you talk about, like, you go all the way back to Cal with Todd, what was his last name? The coach who coached Jason Kidd, Todd Bozeman.
Yep.
And what happened? Where did Todd Bozeman end up? He ended up at Norfolk State. And that's not an insult to Norfolk State, who was coaching Cal Berkeley.
Kelvin Sampson, too many text messages and phone calls out of Indiana and bumped all the way down and is building himself back up at U of H. And look what he's doing at U of H. I no shade at U of H. The dude can flat out coach.
Yeah, but U of H, U of H every once in a while has gotten hot. It hasn't been U of H since the Guy Lewis era. The real U of H that people knew and loved then.
Slamma Jamma days.
Yeah, or the Elvin Hayes,
right.
the game of the century at the Astrodome. But yeah, Calvin Sampson, he had to go for phone calls. And we're talking about, you got guys with bags of cash out here. You got people at Tennessee giving out McDonald's bags with money. You've got Will Wade on the phone at LSU talking about hard, good offers of cash to players. You've got Bill Self. You've got Sean Miller at Arizona. All these guys, and they will all get another job. Jim Herrick at UCLA, remember back in the day, got in trouble at UCLA, had gotten in trouble at Georgia, got in trouble at Rhode Island, kept getting hired.
The head coach at Baylor, the head coach at Baylor covered up a whole murder. He's
got another job.
He's coaching now. He covered up a whole murder.
Yep.
All right, so I got to read this text message. I have to do it. AJ, I used to love the show, but here of late, you have been on one. Stop making excuses for people who are just not good enough. And oh yeah, by the way, in our society, people can hire who they want. God bless you. I won't say their name.
You can hire who you want. You absolutely can. But don't tell me. See, but this is the thing. You'll say people should hire who they want. But then you also say, out of the same side of your mouth, as Americans, the best person should get the job. And he's saying people that aren't good enough. How do you know? Why are you assuming that they aren't good enough? Right. Why is that always the assumption that these black coaches are not good enough?
Right.
When they have the ones who've been given if you would look at the success rate actually of black coaches compared to taking all that giant, and the people say, well, it's a much bigger sample for white coaches. Yeah, that's the whole point, is you have a much bigger sample size. So you've seen all the gradations of success and failure with white coaches, but you had such a narrow sample size from Art Shell taking the job in the 80s to now. You haven't even got to 20 different yet. So your sample size is so much smaller. And even in that, show me the ones that have been abject failures. Show me the black coaches who were abject failures as head coaches. You can say Todd Bowles didn't get it done with the Jets. Ain't nobody getting it done with the Jets right now. But was he an embarrassment to the Jets? Was he worse than what Adam Gase has just put you through? I don't think so. Was he worse than Rich Kotite when they were talking about him? So let's be real in these evaluations. Who are these black coaches that you're saying are not showing that they're good enough? Because you're going to be mad at Jim Caldwell because he went to the Super Bowl with Tony Dungy's team, but you don't hold that against John Gruden
at all.
Who won one with Tony Dungy's team, right, and has not done a thing since and got a 10-year deal out of Oakland. Show me a black coach who can get a 10-year contract.
Right.
They won't give Mike Tomlin a 10-year extension today. Right. And that man has been to 2 Super Bowls.
Right. But Dan Campbell got a 6-year deal. They going to give him 6 years.
And in the history of the Lions, since 1950, 3 coaches in franchise history have made it to 6 years in their contracts. 3. 3, and only 2 since 1970. And that one was Wayne. One of them was Wayne Fonts. So this is just giving him 6 years flies in the face of everything that has been the historical record of this franchise. You haven't kept anybody 6 years because you can't win.
Right.
Because you hired these kinds of people. And this dude is going to flame out and it's going to be bad.
And you're gonna have to pay him to leave, and you're gonna have more money tied up. Let me kind of get to this. Let me kind of get to this. I am okay with this statement I'm about to say. NFL owners don't see a problem with their hiring practices. It's that simple, and that's okay. They don't see a problem with their hiring practices. Roger Goodell might, and the only reason why he might is because people are telling him that there's a problem. So therefore, he's trying to do something with the Rooney Rule and with this and with that and the other. But at the end of the day, if the people who hire the people that hire don't see a problem with the way they're doing it and feel comfortable hiring people that look like them, that they want to be in conference rooms and boardrooms with, that they want to be sitting next to in press boxes, if that's the deal, fine. But don't say a word when people say, we don't like it and here's why. You don't get to control the narrative and give someone the right to do what it is they want to do. The owners can do what they want to do, but don't get mad when other people say, we don't like it.
And the labor force has every right to articulate its issues, whether it's from the player side of it and say, we'd like to see more black coaches because we're black players and we want to see people, representatives, of us. If you want to say that, the players have every right to say it.
Right.
If the coaches come together and say, this isn't right, we're stuck at this level and there's no advancement for us. You're not hiring us and we're not put in positions to hire others.
Right.
So if you're not in those positions, if you don't have a bunch of front office executives, you don't have a bunch of owners, you have not one owner who's black. So if that's the case, then if all the decision making is being done, then why do we see things happen like what we saw with the Mets? Like this stuff it's across the board. You're saying these organizations are so smart. This is what people rely on. They say organizations are smart. They know what they're doing. Well, the Mets hired a general manager who had a serious episode of sexual harassment with a reporter, drove her out of the business, drove the woman out of the business. And they was asked directly by reporters, did you do a thorough background check on him? And they said, yeah, we did. They said, did you ask any women about him? No. Well, if your procedure always is always excluding people who may be impacted by that decision, and there are women in your organization, there are men in your organization, there are black people, there are Hispanics in your organization, there should be anyway. If those people in there are impacted and you don't consult them, it's the same thing as what happened with Deshaun Watson, just asking to have people met with. He didn't demand a thing. He didn't say, bring these people in, hire one of them or I'm out. He said, talk to them. I got people I'd like you to talk to. And if you can't take the advice of your franchise quarterback, who you say is the most important player to any organization in football, maybe in any organization in sports, there's nothing bigger than the franchise quarterback. And you can't listen to him to talk to people that he asks you to talk to. That's on your mindset. You are predetermining what you think a coach is, what you think a front office person is. And that's the reason why a woman like Kim Ng has to wait 20 years and be qualified for her job and has to watch men get jobs that they are not qualified for and then get fired because they have not done the thorough background check because they assumed because they were men, white men in particular, that all they had to do was the cursory search that they've always done.
Yeah. David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, writer for CrescentCitySports.com, back with us on Freestyle Friday. We're having a frank discussion about hiring practices in the NFL, minority coaches. There's one job left out of all the jobs that was open this year. One person of Middle Eastern descent, Robert Salah, going to the Jets. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Going to the Jets. And everybody else looks like everybody else. So we'll see what happens there. Interesting thing on the general manager side. Washington pulled a turnaround. Washington had given it to a guy who got fired from Carolina, had, problems while he was there. You know, he had some stalking problems with an ex while he was there, kept his job, got fired, and then the Washington football team decided to bring him in. And then late in the midnight hour, they decided to change their mind and bring in Martin Mayhew. Okay, so now that gives 5 black general managers in the NFL: Cleveland, Miami, Detroit, Atlanta, and Washington. So Willie Gibson and I were talking about this late last night, and when we finally found out about the Mayhew thing, which, you know, was like under the radar late in the midnight hour, I guess we just got to shut up and dribble now. We got to just shut up and play now, because there's 5 general managers black general managers in the NFL. We ain't gonna worry about the fact that there's only 2 black head coaches. They got 5 general managers, right? Is that how it goes?
Oh, we had 5? Because I'm thinking Detroit is down to 4. Detroit makes it down to 4 because Detroit fired their GM this year. So I think it's 4 now. So, but even in that, that's still 4 or 5. You're talking about 1 out of every 8.
Yeah,
1 out of every 8.
Yeah, Cleveland has a black GM. Miami, Detroit, Washington, and Atlanta.
But yeah, still that's 1 out of, you just under 1 out of 8.
Yeah, Detroit just brought in a black GM.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they just brought in a black GM,
and he hired this guy. So
and that's the interesting thing. If you just pull 1 layer back, he did not hire him. The decision was already made, and he signed off.
And we saw the same thing with Terry Fontenot in Atlanta.
In Atlanta, they brought in the head coach
before they hired him,
and then they threw in the general manager.
So you are tied to the success or failure of somebody you didn't hire, and that's another thing. It's again, this is not uncommon for it happens to black coaches and black general managers more often, because Dale Demps dealt with the same thing in New Orleans, where they had a coach and a staff that was hired before he got there that he had no control over, and this. It's not right. And other folks would not have to take it.
Right.
They wouldn't have to have that situation. And that's, again, it's just the rules don't tell me if the rules are just going to be different, then just say we make this up as we go along. And we can all be honest and angry about it as we choose. But don't, again, the pretending that progress is being made when the evidentiary proof shows you that not only is progress not being made, you are regressing.
Right. The
fact having fewer people.
Yeah. But David, let's go back a little bit further before my next break. If you look at the high school level, that movie, Remember the Titans, was so much more profound and relevant and in time as opposed to outdated. There are very few black head coaches on the high school level that are running major powerhouse, predominantly white schools. Katie will not have a black head coach anytime soon.
No. You think Odessa Permia, you think Katie, you think those. It's not going to
happen. I forget the other big program up in Austin. They ain't gonna have no black head coach. They're not.
And what's interesting is I was just having that conversation yesterday as part of a documentary about my alma mater in the car here, which is run by an African American head coach, Bryce Brown. He's won 5 out of the last 6 state championships, and it's an unprecedented run, particularly for a public school from New Orleans. And the question is always, where are the colleges coming to meet him? Where are the colleges who? And he loves his job, and it's not about that in particular, him wanting to leave. But you never hear his name in the circuit of hot high school coaches that should be moving up to the collegiate level.
Right.
You never hear his name. And that just wouldn't work that way. If the coaches at Evangel or at John Arrett or John Curtis or stuff like that, they're going to get those opportunities.
Jesuit. Yeah.
Bryce Brown's not going to get that opportunity. People with Jabbar Jalouk, who had coached, who was a St. Aug alumni, had coached the Car, won a state championship at Car. The best, he finally got offers to be, position coaches and things like that at places like Louisiana Tech and at LSU. But they bring you in to recruit.
Right.
Frank Wilson, who ended up at Texas San Antonio as head coach, was an assistant at LSU, assistant at Tennessee, assistant at Ole Miss, assistant at USC, recruiting guru. He got a head coach job. Texas San Antonio won a bowl game his first year. Now he's back to be an assistant. They will not groom you for that head coaching job in this deep South. It just won't happen.
Yeah, let me take a quick break. We'll be right back with more right after this.
1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legendary KYOK.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-603-9359. 800-603-9359. That's 800-603-9359.
We are on the lunch break, and again, if you are a CDL licensed driver with a good driving record and a TWIC card, I need you to call these good people. They're looking for you. 832-767-3211. 832-767-3211. CDL driver, good driving record, and a TWIC card. A reputable company wants to talk with you. 832-767-3211. 832-767-3211. All right, back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. At North Shore High School here in Houston, one of the top 2-3 teams in the state, in the country, and white head coach. And I mean, that team is 90% black. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, like, there are, not saying it has to be. I'm not saying that it has to be. Hear me. I'm not saying it has to be, but there should be a chance for it to be.
Right.
And because North Shore is such a prominent school, and I know the kids and the parents over there love that head coach. I'm using him as an example, not as a bad one. When he decides to retire, that job shouldn't have to go to somebody that looks like him. That job should go to the person who can keep them at that level regardless of color. And chances are that athletic director is not going to look for those kind of coaches. Why? Because very few coaches on a high school level on that caliber are black.
Yeah, you don't see it. You don't see black coaches getting to coach at white schools, and you are more likely to see a white head coach at a predominantly black school. Because again, it goes back to the same things that Dan Campbell stuff, is that you look for white men who are going to discipline black boys.
Well, let's go up. College.
Same. It's the same. It's the same. They do not view the black guys are the communicators. They're the ones who talk to them when they have a problem, but you don't let them run the show unless they are viewed as what? Disciplinarians. That's who they have to be viewed as. If you're a black coach, you have to be viewed as a disciplinarian to get a head coaching job. Who are the few that you can think of right now that have those jobs? Whether it's a James Franklin or whether you're talking about a Charlie Strong, when he was in the image you have of them was disciplinarian. The reason that Kevin Sumlin, when that offense wasn't working no more, well, Kevin Sumlin don't have control of this team. I don't think Jimbo Fisher has any more control of that team. The evidence in his past doesn't show that he's known for having control over his players. Dan Mullen has not been shown to have control over his players. But see, when we talk about black coaches, this is a different thing. Again, you are one of them. You are one of those boys when the player's out of control. You're not in charge. You have to keep them in charge. You have to keep them in control. So you don't turn that job over to black people.
The president of the Big 12 said that not one of the current athletic directors in the Big 12 has ever hired a black head coach for football. Not one.
And they won't.
And they won't. Chances are they will not.
Look at the SEC, which you have one. You had one in Derek Mason. He gone now. He gone. So where are you gonna find another one? Where are you gonna find another? You think Tennessee's gonna hire a black coach?
Remember Sylvester Crooms?
Yeah.
At Mississippi State?
Uh-huh. And what happened to Sylvester after that? Got driven out. And Sylvester would tell you too. He said, well, they would build towards something. Remember, they had won the Egg Bowl. They had progress, and the next year they went back down. The senior class that he had left, but he had some young guys coming up. And that became the foundation for Dan Mullen's bowl teams that he had when he got successful. But Sylvester Croom never got to live on for those things. He never got to get. Sylvester Croom got passed over and over again at Alabama, the place where he played, where Alabama kept saying tradition was so important. He kept getting passed over for Mike Shula or for Dennis Franchione or the people like that. They didn't want to hire Sylvester Croom. And you talking about somebody who was loyal to Bear? That's what they were talking about. Who was more loyal than Sylvester Croom? They never talked to Ozzie Newsome once about coming in there and doing something for that program. What all Ozzie Newsome was doing was being the best general manager in the NFL during his time in Baltimore. So you just don't understand is that you've seen the results. You've seen that there are plenty of capable people, and you know that there are more out there. You know that it's not just this small group of people who can be successful. But when you cast a narrow net, you're going to catch what you catch over and over again. If I stand in the same spot on the pier and throw that net out, I'm gonna pull out the same thing every single time. You got to take that boat out in the deeper waters.
Right. You gotta move something to find something.
Big fish are out there, and you gotta go look for them. And it's not. And there are black folk who are going to fail, but that's all we've asked for is the opportunity to succeed or fail.
Right.
Without the conditions. Stop putting us in these bad positions. Stop giving us the situations you would never give to somebody else. And then when we don't make a miracle happen in 2 years, because that's usually the timeline now for black coaches is half that.
Yeah.
They don't even get the full recruiting class.
Yeah. Let me go through a list of names real quick. And I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask you if they have had a black head coach and if you think they will have a black head coach. Ready? LSU.
No.
Will they?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
All right. Alabama.
Never.
No, and never.
Never.
Florida.
It could happen in Florida.
Has not happened.
Has not. But it happened at Florida State. It happened at Miami. It happened at Florida.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think Florida is just too. It's too many. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just too many, and they're too popular. The icons who get those kinds of jobs are popular people.
Georgia.
Maybe now. I don't know. Maybe Raphael Warnock could be the head coach at the University of Georgia too.
Clemson.
No. Ooh, no. Ooh, no.
The Ohio State University.
Nope. Never. Nope.
Michigan.
Yeah, it could definitely happen at Michigan. Because Michigan has shown over the years that they've been really willing. I mean, they've had black athletic directors. They've had a number of black basketball coaches from very different backgrounds too. Right. Yep. So, and we've seen it across the sports. I would say Michigan. Yeah, if the right person comes along, absolutely, I think Michigan would be open to it.
Oklahoma.
It would very much depend on who that candidate is. It would very much depend on who that candidate is. I would imagine it'd have to be somebody with some Oklahoma ties. That's the only way it would happen. It would have to be somebody who, and I don't know who that would be, because whoever that kid is now, he's a long way from coming back. There's not one from the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s that you could think of in that position, but no, not likely right now. I say it's down the road.
Oklahoma State.
T. Boone Pickett's still alive?
Yeah. That's why I love you, man. That's why I love you. All right. And I know the answer to this one, but it's more of the will they ever have another one? University of Texas.
Never again. Never again. They already done messed up the fight song for you. Never again. In their minds, they ain't making that mistake twice.
I believe that about UT and A&M, to be honest with you. UT, that fight song thing is serious, and somebody thinking that somebody of color comes in and wants to do away with that fight song just ain't gonna happen. So that's why you saw Steve Sarkisian go right to it. That's our song. We're gonna play it. We're gonna sing it. We're gonna bow to it. We're gonna wash in it. All he wanted to talk about was that doggone fight song. You know, somebody else told him this here right here is job impacting.
And he don't care. He'll happily play along with that game. That's another dude who normally, what black coach again, who had alcohol as a problem, showed up to practices and games drunk. You got to get another second chance? You going to get another shot? You going to get a job at Bama and then get a job at to go follow that up and go to Texas, the richest program in the country? Who does that happen for as a black coach? Tell me. Who does that happen for? Drunk at games. Had to be escorted out by the athletic director. You remember? And it's not to, people have problems.
I'm not laughing because you have problems. It's just true.
Drunk at the game.
It's just the truth.
Met with alumni. Drunk. Went to practices. Drunk. And you are putting him in charge of more young men. Okay. Same with Larry Eustace. Remember Larry Eustace?
Oh my gosh.
Iowa State
was at the sorority parties.
Yep. And he still kept getting work. It doesn't happen that way for black coaches. It doesn't. And if people don't see that there's a double standard that way, it doesn't happen for women coaches. You don't get that kind of luxury when you're a woman coach. One hit of controversy out. Unless you are, the controversy you bring is like Kim Mulkey. You can get that kind of controversy. She's fine. But again, how many people came out and wanted to rip Dawn Staley for the things that she said, when she took over at South Carolina? How many people wanted to get into Kara Walters' business when she started talking the way she's talking at Duke?
Right.
Now, she's a controversial person now.
Yeah.
Because she spoke truth, and the standard is just different.
Yeah. You think New England, the Patriots, will ever have a black head coach?
No. Not even Crispus Attucks could come back from the grave if he was real. I don't believe he's real. But if Crispus Attucks were real and he came back, he couldn't get the job as head coach of New England Patriots.
Oh God! Will the Saints ever have a black head coach?
As long as the Benson's on that team, no, it'll never happen. No. They run that basketball team and that football team two completely different ways. No.
Does Eric Bieniemy take the Texans' job?
If I'm him, I don't. Not now. Not knowing what's going on there. The only way is if you know for sure that they're not going to get rid of Deshaun behind you the moment you get there.
That's an interesting scenario because I said yesterday, the Texans don't want Bieniemy. They need Bieniemy to try to make Deshaun happy. So you've got Nick Caserio asking Eric Bieniemy, what's your plan to keep Deshaun when it should be the other way around? What's your plan to keep Deshaun? I'm with you. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I stay out of that. It's like y'all got problems, and I don't need those problems to be mine.
You can't have two people still vying for power with the ownership. That situation has not been rectified, and you're going to come in there to a team that either is going to provide you with no picks, no money, and no talent, or they're going to trade away your one star on offense and give you uncertainty because you're not sure if they can handle that deal properly based on what they've approved in the past. Are you going to feel like you have a relationship that's strong enough with that GM that they're going to come in and not give Deshaun away for some magic beans?
They're either going to give him Sam Darnold and some picks or Jimmy Garoppolo and some picks.
You better take that Tua Tagovailoa. If that's what if Miami offers you Tua, you better take Tua. Because Sam Darnold, no, I don't see it. And then we've seen enough of Jimmy Garoppolo to know that the 49ers don't trust him. And if they don't trust him to run their offense, then what would make you think that you should trust him with the Texans? I think Tua, at the very least, and people will talk about, well, like, he was a rookie coming off of missing time due to his injury, had no camp, and you threw him out there as a rookie, and he had some good performances and some bad ones. Okay, that's what you were going to get, because all those folks, again, it's the Ryan Fitzpatrick. They were banking on Ryan Fitzpatrick. They're sitting there, and there are people with intelligence in their brains saying that if you had let Ryan Fitzpatrick cook, we were making the playoffs. He does this every year. Ryan Fitzpatrick has 2 or 3 good games, and then the rest of them are awful, and people only want to remember the good ones. And this dude has carved out. He got people on TV talking about him as if he's one of the greatest, most influential players of all time because he knows how to be a backup. Man, get out of here with that stuff. You will never, again, a job that will never apply to a black dude. You cannot be the longest tenured backup black guy on any team, unless you're Udonis Haslem with the Miami Heat.
That's David Grubb, hard in the paint. Ryan Fitzpatrick looks like Conor McGregor. Ryan Fitzpatrick looks like a franchise quarterback. How many years? It does not mean.
Did you know he went to Harvard? Did you know that? I didn't. They never mentioned it.
Yeah,
I make sure that you knew.
He was here, so yeah, we knew all of that. We knew all of it.
They don't mention it enough that he's from Harvard. You know that he's very smart. He went to Harvard.
Yeah.
Throw a lot of picks.
He was smart enough to learn how to look like some people so he could get paid like some of them. I got to hit the top of the hour, David. This is hilarious. All right, when we come back, we got to talk about some actual games. But I do want to talk about the Saints and where they go from here. So, y'all, if y'all want to get in and talk about anything that we've talked about, please, 281-453-1000. That's 281-453-1000. Or you can text 832-403-5005. That's 832-403-5005. It's the Lunch Break Freestyle Friday on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. You can stream us live at kyokradio.org.
The legendary 1140 AM KYOK Conroe and 92.3 FM K222CX Houston.
The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the host, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
All right, y'all, back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK. It's hour number 2. I'm AJ Jones, David Grubb, hard in the paint, writer for CrescentCitySports.com. Obviously, Drew Brees is done. Very tough loss, play in that loss to Tampa Bay. And I'm tired of hearing, no, you can't beat the same team 3 times in the season. When you turn the ball over by interception 3 times, and then you fumble the ball away on, at least one other time, that's hard. It's hard to beat a team with all those weapons and a quarterback like that when you turn the ball over 4 or 5 times. So forget the whole, it's hard to beat another team 3 times in the same season.
It's not really. It hasn't really been. That was a lie. It's a lie. Teams had been 12-5 in the previous 17 games where they were going for the 3-game sweep. The Saints had done it 2 years ago to the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
Did it to them. The team hadn't done it. No team had been 0-2 and won the 3rd game since 2007 when the Giants beat the Cowboys and then went on to win the Super Bowl. So it was a lie. The whole thing was a lie. And it's hard to beat. I mean, it is easy to beat the team, but it's not easy after you turn the ball over when you get 2 chances in the first 5 minutes of the game in the red zone and you lead with 6 points, which is exactly what they did last year against Minnesota when they left points on the table. Remember throwing an incompletion in the back of the end zone to the tight end Josh Hill when he should have had that touchdown. Well, this time, what you saw was the fact that the Saints had to play around Drew Brees the entire year.
Right.
And if it is to be believed what his wife is saying, if that is to be believed, which I find it very suspicious, because if the Saints did not know that he had a torn fascia and a torn rotator cuff, if the Saints didn't know that and they put him out on the field, then they did a disservice to the other players on that team.
Absolutely.
Drew Brees did not give them. In that case, you could have rested him longer if you knew those things that were still in place, because you could have beaten the Bears without Drew Brees. And you certainly at least would have seen if he is healthy in this game. But it was evident that he could not throw the ball. It was there. You could see it. He could not throw the ball. He could not place it where he wanted to. He could not place it downfield at all. They didn't even try because they knew they couldn't, to the point where Tampa is anchored 20 yards down the field, knowing that every play is in front of them. If that's the case, no, you can't win. You can't win a game. It doesn't matter that Latavius Murray was out, though that did impact the game. Not having him, it doesn't matter if Taysom Hill's gone, though that does impact the game. But if your quarterback has a torn rotator cuff, and is still dealing with the broken ribs, and then on top of it, they tell him he's torn a muscle in his foot that he needs for all the arm strength that he can muster. I have a problem with that, and I think the NFL is probably going to have a problem with that too, because those are injuries that are supposed to be reported. And Vegas is going to have a problem with that too, because they set their lines based on the health reports of these teams.
I was going to ask about that, what the repercussions could be, even if and when Drew Brees retires. Like there's no way he could or should come back from this.
No, because if there were, you wouldn't have played him. If you thought he was coming back next year, then you say, look, remember we saw this, we've seen this in practice more than once. You go back to those Buffalo Bills teams that went to 4 straight Super Bowls, and you talk about the year that they beat, Houston in that comeback game. Frank Reich had to play that game because Jim Kelly got hurt, and then Frank Reich played the next week, started the next week in the AFC Championship game and won that game. We saw it. Tom Brady knocked out in the playoffs that first year that the Patriots made the run, and Drew Bledsoe coming in, winning the AFC Championship on the road at Pittsburgh. And then there was a controversy. Remember, is Bledsoe going to start over Brady in the Super Bowl? There was a legitimate argument that happened. So the Saints you had Jameis Winston. You could have at least gone through the Bears game. And then when you saw, and Ross and I talked about this, in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes to go, and you're standing there and they say that's not enough time for the Saints to score 10 points, that never was a statement you would have made any other year prior. But you knew, Ross and I, we knew, there's no way that they were going to score twice in 8 minutes because Drew Brees couldn't move the ball.
What I liked, and a lot of Saints fans don't like me saying this, what I liked was that Todd Bowles would just say, all right, this half, like you said, 20 yards and up, play it 20 yards and in. And we're just going to sell out. We're going to make him beat us. We're going to make him throw it over our heads. But trust me, he won't be able to do it. And they did not move an inch beyond that. And it changed the whole complexion of the game. You're talking about that. I mean, Peyton Manning in Denver. Brock Osweiler got him to the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning got to come in and win it. Play in it, I should say.
Peyton played 9 games that year.
If they could have, if they knew, they should have done better. And like I said, I really think that there needs to be something that is said or done about it, because that right there, Drew Brees needs to just ride off into the sunset. That being the case, who is the starter first week in September 2021?
I mean, Sean Payton says he's happy with Jameis and Taysom, but Jameis is a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
And Jameis is going to have the opportunity to go talk to some folks. And if I'm Jameis, I would. Look, quite frankly, he could want to stay here, and football-wise, it makes a lot of sense for him to stay in New Orleans. It does. It absolutely does. Are they going to pay him what he's worth? And I'd be kind of upset that in a game that we could have won, you didn't even give me a real chance. You didn't say, take a series and let's see if you can get something going, because Drew's just not.
Right.
Just take a series and let's see. You didn't even think about that as an option. So if you're thinking that I'm in the future, you didn't let me start when Drew was hurt. When he was actually hurt, you started Taysom.
Yep.
And I did all the things I was supposed to do. I came to practice. You didn't hear the word boo out of Jameis Winston this year.
Right. No issues. None.
So,
oh, yeah, by the way, I came in and put the ball on a man 25, 30 yards downfield.
The longest separation of a play in over a decade in the playoffs? Since it was 14-yard difference between the receiver and the DB.
And I put it right on him.
So if I'm Jameis, Indianapolis looks like a real good spot. They were 10-win team, made the playoffs, and if they had gotten a more favorable matchup, they might have gotten out of the first round with Phillip Rivers on his last leg. So if I'm Jameis, Indianapolis, I'm inside still. They need a quarterback. Why not? Why am I not looking there? If you're talking about all these other places that may miss out on one of these top two guys, that miss out on Trevor Lawrence, if the Jets decide they want to take a receiver and go with the Heisman Trophy winner over a quarterback at 2, if you're Jameis Winston, be the king of New York.
Yeah.
You be the king of New York and try it, because they're going to pay you.
Right.
And so if I'm Jameis, yeah, I mean, of course you always want to talk about winning and all those things, but at the same time, I'm not giving up too much money to take it in a game where you get hit on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And like you said, if I'm Jameis, I'm going to say the same thing to Jameis that I would say to Eric Bieniemy: be selective, bro.
Chicago. Jameis could be talking about Philly. He could be talking about Chicago.
Yep.
He could be talking about San Francisco.
Yep.
He could be. There are a number of places that could be very interested in Jameis Winston. And if I'm him, look, Atlanta could be on the market for Jameis, because they might say, Matt Ryan, look, hey, let's get out of this train. We rode it as long as we could. Let's get our value out of this now, because there's a team that may look again, one of those teams that misses out. They can't trade for Deshaun Watson or can't trade for Matthew Stafford or something. They might make an offer to get you in Los Angeles for the Chargers. You can still be talking about just because you saw some good things out of Justin Herbert doesn't mean you don't need a veteran over there.
Yeah, they have crowned that young man way too early for me. I mean, great rookie season. Surprised the heck out of me. Played a lot better than I thought he would on this level. I'm not going to hate on him, but in the words of the late, great Dennis Green, if you want to crown him, go ahead and crown him. Go ahead and crown him. He was who we thought he was.
Would you be surprised if Pittsburgh had to move on from Ben Roethlisberger after the way that he played in the playoffs, and they made a hard decision to say, we got to let Ben go. They've already signed Dwayne Haskins as a project.
Yeah.
Bring in Jameis. You can bring in Jameis up there too.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't know if you saw my wish list for starting quarterbacks around the league. For Pittsburgh, I was hoping that it was none other than Deshaun Watson. I know they don't have the capital to trade for him.
Not even close.
But they got pieces now. And if this Nick Caserio guy is who I think he is, he'll try to do like Bill Belichick and take some of those cast-offs and turn them into stars. So they're not out of the question. But if Deshaun goes to Pittsburgh, I want Jameis to be the starter in New Orleans. I want the Patriots to keep Cam Newton. I want the Bears to give a legitimate chance to Tyrod Taylor. Jacksonville, I know everybody's saying Trevor Lawrence, but man, Justin Fields to me is a better fit down there in Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence is a better fit in the Jets. And I'm talking about who owns the team, how that organization is run. You want Trevor Lawrence up there and not Justin Fields. Just FYI. And seriously, and I'm not joking, the Texans should have to try to figure it out with either Mitch Trubisky, Sam Darnold, or Jimmy Garoppolo. That should be their plight in life.
I think it's gonna either end up being Miami or Jacksonville could make the deal. I mean, if Jacksonville decided they wanted to make the deal and give up the one for Watson and say we'll jumpstart this because Urban Meyer may not want to have to, lose.
Yeah.
No matter what, when you get a rookie quarterback, you're gonna lose. You're gonna take your lumps.
Right.
Urban Meyer might say, "Let me speed this process up, so I can keep these checks coming." So I can see Jacksonville if the deal is right, because those are teams that have multiple ones to give this year and can give you an intermediary quarterback.
Right.
Jacksonville could say, "Hey, take Gardner Minshew. He's got starting experience. You still get the number one pick in the draft, so you can take your Trevor Lawrence. So you've got Trevor Lawrence as your starter and Gardner Minshew as your backup." There's plenty of GMs who say, "Well, that's a start." There's plenty of them who will because they say
you made my stomach hurt, man. You made my stomach hurt.
Is Gardner Minshew in the NFL? Is he going anywhere?
Nah.
So there's a general manager right now thinking about if he should make a deal for Derek Carr.
Yeah, again, you're right about it. You're right about it. Stay right there. Let me take my first break this hour. We'll be right back with David Grubb, Hard in the Paint, right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK. Segment brought to you by Lily and the Tax Doctor.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-603-9359. 800-603-9359. That's 800-603-9359. Here's an important COVID-19 school system update for your local area. If you're concerned about your child's education, please pay close attention to this message. The current school systems were not set up for at-home learning. If you're worried that your child may not be getting the grades they need to get ahead, may be losing self-confidence, or you're worried about them getting into a good college because of their grades, help is available to you. Call Grade Potential Tutoring. They can help with in-home or online tutoring and help your child with any subject at every grade level, even for test prep. They're experts in the home tutoring and online tutoring field and confident they can help you and your child get better grades today. Call now for your free consultation. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. That's 800-580-7680.
KYOK, 1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legend continues.
The lunch break, where sports are the special of the day on the legendary KYOK.
All right. Before we get done with this show, we got to talk about the passing of my favorite baseball player of all time, and that is Hank Aaron, or better known as Hammerin' Hank. Henry Louise Aaron passed away today at the age of 86 years old. We'll talk about that in a second. Let me go to the phone line, though. We got Johnny from Third Ward trying to get in. I see you, David. Johnny from Third Ward trying to get in. Johnny, what's going on, bro? I'm sorry, Johnny. I didn't have the right button hit. Go ahead and do that again.
Okay.
Yeah, we got you loud and clear now. You want to get in and talk about Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, that's a good deal. Hey, first of all, let me just thank you, AJ. I feel honored to be on your show.
Oh, man, we're glad to have you. I feel honored that you chose to call in.
No doubt. You're the best in the business, but I will say this here about Deshaun Watson. I'm actually hoping that he gets the heck up out of Houston, because us as fans, we've watched this time and time again with the Houston Texans. They shun these young black stars. They treat them like crap. If you ask me, Deshaun Watson, he should have a blank check to give to any coach that he wants to come in here and run this offense. But when you look at it on the flip side, the whole scenario is this. The Houston Texans has always been a racist organization. Look what they did to Vince Young. They didn't even bring Vince Young in for a trial when he was trying to come out as the number 1 pick. They didn't want nothing to do with him. No, we didn't have a quarterback. You finally get a generational quarterback like Deshaun Watson. Look how they're treating him. Are you serious? Are we really having this discussion?
Johnny, I got to bring up a couple of things that you just talked about. And me and several of my colleagues, and David, you can jump in on this, did not think that the Texans organization was ready to have a black quarterback as the face of their organization, even though he was Houston's favorite son at that time, coming off of a national championship. And they still were not ready, under the ownership of, may rest in peace, Bob McNair, to have him as the face of the franchise. They were willing to bring in Mario Williams, but they weren't willing to make that switch that fast, that soon, to a black head quarterback, even though his name was Vince Young.
Bingo. And that's exactly what I was talking about. You know, I never have supported them, but when they did bring Watson, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is the changing of the guard. Let me have an open mind. I love the city. I'm from here, native Houstonian. Let me start pulling for the Texans. Lo and behold, they stabbed me in the back. Look what we're going through right now. It's a shame.
Yeah. Johnny, you be safe out there, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Good call right there, David. What's crazy is I used to think that Dad felt one way and Cal felt differently. I thought by Cal's silence on some of the things that happened with his dad that, you know, he didn't think the same way. I thought when Cal took over, he was less of a football guy and wanted to have more, different people running it. We now know that Cal is his dad 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 when it comes to different kind of thoughts, feelings, and the way he handles his business.
And that's unfortunate because what you hear from so many players around that organization is that there's a big divide between the players and the organization. And it's not getting any closer, to being narrowed. And when you see these other things, these situations about, people being near the owner and trying to exude influence, and it just seems as if football is not the priority of the business operations of the Houston Texans. And that's the thing, is if the fans don't feel confident that your priority here is to make good football decisions, that the stuff that goes on in every business, there's politics and people trying to maneuver in every company.
Yep.
But when that seems to be what you trade in most, when we talk about you as a franchise, it's drama. Rather than product. Then you've got a real problem. And players know this. They don't want to be there. They don't want to go there. And, this could lead to a different discussion, but this is why I hate the draft, because you ruin people's careers by sending them to places that they don't fit either in any number of ways, and their careers are forever altered because they're around incompetent people.
Yeah, it's very true. And when you've got guys like DeAndre Hopkins, like Andre Johnson, like Jadeveon Clowney, like Dwayne Brown, who care for Deshaun as a person, telling him stick and stand by your guns, man. Stand your ground. Don't give in to this, because they came to Deshaun. I don't know where this narrative got out there that Deshaun wanted them to, ask him who to hire and fire. McNair went to Deshaun and said, I'm going to take your input on head coach and general manager. Didn't do it on GM, and did not even call or check with the people that Deshaun had on his list. Why would Deshaun feel like you came to me and you didn't do what you said you're going to do? Oh, yeah, and you traded away my best friend. Oh, and you traded away my protection. Oh, and you traded away one of our best defensive players. And oh, yeah, by the way, they all look like me. So
or you let them walk. The ones that you didn't trade away, you let them walk.
You had an all-pro safety in the building, and he was in love with Houston. and you didn't even make him an offer. Kareem Jackson, you didn't even make him an offer. What would make Deshaun? What he say? When they paint you a picture, don't let them paint you another one. I'm trying to be patient. I told my mama she better pray about it.
You know, and it's not like the James Harden situation. You know, where James had everything done for him and it wasn't enough, and he didn't like it and he had to go. Right. So in his mind, but for Deshaun, no, nothing has ever been done for him. No one has ever gone out of their way to make Deshaun feel anything, which is, again, not the way things happen in the NFL. Troy Aikman was about as mediocre a good quarterback you ever going to find. And yet, as long as he was winning games, he was going to get treated like a god.
You better come on in here and preach.
So, you know, you don't even have to be exceptional. If you're the starter and you're the franchise quarterback, there are just things that go along with that. There are responsibilities. There are concessions that are made on your behalf. And one of those is, if you're going to talk about things in particular, this is why Aaron Rodgers at age 37 was so upset with the Green Bay Packers when they drafted a quarterback and didn't tell him.
Yep.
They don't owe him that in the sense of they're not obligated, to do that, but they owe him that. You owe him that. If you're asking that man to go out there and risk himself for you, for his check, you at least owe him the courtesy of saying, we're thinking about bringing in the future now. Just let the man know. That's all you got to do.
Right.
Let the man know. He can't change your mind.
Right.
But you owe him the respect of letting him know. And they don't extend Deshaun the basic courtesies that you would to any franchise quarterback.
And let me just qualify. This part we're talking about right here is not about race for me. This is about organization and how it's run. Because let's go to New England for a second. Tom Brady will never say it. Every time Tom and an offense, wide receivers, running back, what have you, got in a groove, New England would do New England stuff. And Tom knew that in that building, all he could say is, hey, I play quarterback. They take care of that. But as a player who did all he did for that organization, yo, Tom, we're thinking about letting so-and-so go. Yo, Tom, we're thinking about moving on from so-and-so, offensively or defensively. I mean, they did not do that. So after a while, even Tom Brady got fed up.
And Tom Brady also got to say, get rid of Jacoby Brissett, get rid of Garoppolo. He did that to a number of every quarterback that the Patriots ever drafted. Tom Brady was like, all right, time for him to go. Time for this one to go. Whenever they were a perceived threat, you got to leave. So he was given that. He was given enough power to get rid of backups. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's a pretty extent thing when you can preserve your job by making sure no one is ever around smart enough to challenge you for it.
Look, all your competition that knows the system gets moved somewhere else.
Every time. As soon as they get a little bit proficient, you got to go. Bye. Bring in the dummies. Bring in the people that don't know nothing about this.
The Texans are right now one of the worst run organizations. And quietly as it's kept out in the media, this is what several players have been saying all along. They're more focused on making money than winning. They don't mind being competitive. And when you listen to now, put it all together and listen to what Cal McNair said, talking about all the AFC South championships, all the AFC South, not AFC championships, not Super Bowl championships. We keep winning the AFC South. We're going to keep having a waiting list to get in our building. Let's keep going.
No, you won't, because you don't have that cachet. You're not. That's why the Dallas Cowboys can go 6-10 the next 5 years. That stadium's still gonna be full. It's just that's just the nature of the beast. But you can't do that if you're the Houston Texans. You don't have any chips on the table. You got no skins on the wall.
David, they've been 5, 6 or above since 2002.
But I think that there's a point for everything. That oversaturation at some point, losses start to turn folks away. You can salt your well. We've seen it in enough markets across sports that you can salt your well and people will stop coming, even in the most fertile market. St. Louis went through it in baseball. You know what I mean? We've seen it in Los Angeles. We've seen it different times. So, I mean, it all it takes is enough losing to make people. What happened with Bud Adams?
Yeah.
You know, and here's the so. I mean, if you start making people feel like you're trying to scam them, and you don't have any history to fall back on, then eventually they're gonna turn away. They'll turn away. They'll become Cowboy fans again. That's what they'll do. Or they'll become Titans fans. That's what they'll do.
Yeah, this is definitely a tipping point for them. Definitely a tipping point. If they don't figure this out and lose Deshaun Watson, I think you'll begin to see that downward descent, and it will be swift and severe. Stay right there, David. We got to take a quick break. Got to get OMG Tires and More on, and also hear about Larry Scott and the Not So Christian in Me show. I'll be on that show tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I'll be on the show tomorrow at 1 o'clock as a guest co-host. So be sure and tune into the Not So Christian in Me show. Let me stop talking about it. Let me let him tell you himself right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
Hi, I'm Larry Scott, host of the Not So Christian in Me show. Join me Saturdays for great fun, interviews, music, and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with real conversation in a no judgment zone. So join me Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Not So Christian in Me show right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 a.m. and the all-new 92.3 FM and KYOKradio.org.
Hi, I'm Linda J. I recently purchased 4 new tires from OMG Tires and More, located at 3124 Tidwell between 59 and Jensen. TK got me in and out in less than 30 minutes. While there, I got my car washed. Do you need rims for your car? OMG has them too. OMG Tires and More is your one-stop shop for all your tire needs. So give them a call at 832-767-3211. That's 832-767-3211. Conveniently located at 3124 Tidwell between 59 and Jensen on the north side.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK. If you are a licensed CDL driver with a good driving record and a TWIC card, a reputable company is looking to talk with you. 832-767-3211. 832-767-3211. If you or someone you know is a licensed CDL driver, good driving record with a TWIC card, call that number, 832-767-3211. All right, David, we're back. And a lot of Texan fans are saying the same thing. They lose Deshaun Watson, they out. They already feel bad about the way the organization is being run. That's why, some people are saying that Deshaun needs to get out of here. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I ain't coming into this. I don't have anything to prove. I mean, seriously, rather this, I'd stay in Kansas City, keep running the show there. At some point, Andy's going to decide to do something different. And who better to take that job with Pat Mahomes but Eric Bieniemy? I mean, if he gets another job, he'll get another chance. But this Texans job, it ain't it. It ain't it.
No, don't set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
Don't set yourself up for failure. You don't have enough. And there are a lot of people say, well, if you've got a quarterback, you've got enough. Nope. You got to look at the whole picture. You don't have enough.
Right.
You're not going to be one of the 2 best teams in your division next year.
Right.
Just showing up, no matter what kind of draft you have.
Yeah.
You don't have the money to go out there and spend on a free agent that's going to be an impact. Your best players are getting older on the defensive side. Your running game is non-existent. Your offensive line is suspect. Your wide receivers are inconsistent at best. I don't see it. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, it's a job that screams you getting fired.
Yeah,
like that's what that screams. It's like you're going to have 2 subpar seasons, and you're not going to get the Bill O'Brien. I went 9-7. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get the Jeff Fisher. It's 9-7, 8-8 is good enough. It ain't going to happen for you that way.
You're not going to get that grace.
Don't do it.
Yeah. All right, let's look at this weekend. First of all, is Pat Mahomes going to play? I understand he took the majority of the snaps yesterday, but still in the concussion protocol, even though they say he didn't have a concussion.
He's going to play.
Yeah,
he's going to play, even if he has a concussion. This is the NFL. They're going to make sure he plays.
I'm not as worried about his head as I am about his foot.
Well, I'm just telling you, I know that if it doesn't matter, he's going to find a way to pass these protocols. The same way Nick Saban passed the COVID protocols, Pat Mahomes going to pass the concussion protocols. He'll be on the field. Yeah. But I think this is a game that the Bills win anyway. I think I've not been impressed by the Chiefs in weeks. in weeks. Have you seen them look really good? The Browns should have made that game much more uncomfortable, even if Pat Mahomes had stayed in. I've not been impressed. They've not been able to run the ball the same way, and they blew Buffalo out the last time they played. But this is not that team. This is not that team. I feel like Kansas City has been coasting the last few weeks. The defense has not been the same. It has not provided the same amount of pressure. That ball didn't roll out the back of the end zone. We're talking about a much different game in Cleveland, with Cleveland and Cincinnati and Kansas City. So I like the Bills. I think the Bills, Stephon Diggs can make plays.
True.
I think they won't turn the ball over. I think they're physical at the point of attack on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And usually I go with the team that hits the hardest. And I think that the Bills hit the hardest.
Man, you done broke my heart, man. We ain't talked in a little while. I didn't know you were thinking like this. You okay? Let's talk about it. You all right?
Hey, I'm just going by what I saw. I'm going by what I saw, and I picked, like, I knew that it was not going to be a 10-point game. The money was on that was because again, when was the last time the Chiefs beat somebody by double figures since Pat Mahomes has been with them in the playoffs? They don't win games like that.
I'll give you that. I just
don't win games like that.
I just need them to beat Buffalo by 1. I don't care if they win by double digits. I need them.
Are they playing better than Buffalo's been playing as of late? Look at Kansas City. Are you convinced in your mind that they've been playing better? And now you've got to compromise Pat Mahomes. No matter what, he's compromised.
I'm in agreement with you. I agree. I need him to do that Sunday at 5:40 Central.
I think what you're going to see is you saw Buffalo grind down the number of possessions last week. Drove it way down, number of possessions. And that's what their plan is going to be again against Kansas City. The Saints did a good job of that against Kansas City, of driving down the number of possessions. And that's how you stay. You don't want to get in a shootout with Kansas City. That's the last thing you want.
Right.
But what you do want is to make them defend up and down the field, because if you put them in those positions, I think that they will physically back down. They just ran into. We're talking about a half of football that was one of the dumbest halves of football called by Shanahan in a Super Bowl last year. The guy's done it twice now. From the Chiefs not being the defending champs. They might be the least impressive 15-1 team you've seen follow up a Super Bowl in quite some time, because they've not played like juggernauts to get to this 15.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not calling them a juggernaut. I just need them to beat Buffalo Sunday. That's all I need. Great call, David Grubb. That Keith Hennick agrees with you. I'm gonna go with Kansas City. Me and Sean McDermott, we not there. I think Kansas City's defense puts enough pressure on Josh Allen to. I'm not saying that they're gonna put him out of character. I don't think he can win it by himself.
He ain't got to.
Well,
the Chargers beat the Chiefs by 17. Falcons almost beat the Chiefs. Saints almost beat the Chiefs. Dolphins almost beat the Chiefs. Bills are better than all those teams.
Keep your phone on.
All right. I was killing it last week, though. We were right on just about every call we had last week.
Okay, well, that's this week. This week we talk about Chiefs and Bills. You got Bills, I got Chiefs. The battle of the Bays.
The Bay Pigs, like it used to be in the 80s.
Man, who you got? Green Bay or Tampa Bay?
I'm taking Green Bay in this one because they're not going to get 4 turnovers. Tampa Bay's not going to get 4 turnovers out of Green Bay.
Right.
But I think this is a very close game. The difference here being Devontae Adams. Green Bay is not great at running the football. The Buccaneers are not great at running the football.
True.
They both have light defensive lines and are more speed oriented. But Raheem Morris, Todd Bowles loves to blitz. Todd Bowles blitz more than any other defensive coordinator in the NFL this year.
And that's the wrong guy to blitz.
And you don't blitz Aaron Rodgers. And what that means, there will be soft spots. Drew Brees could not take advantage of soft spots. Right. And the thing that Tampa struggles with in coverage is when they have to play zone. And Devontae Adams is going to eat zone up. He loves zone. Give him that zone and let Aaron Rodgers get to work with his zone. Yeah. If you have to zone up against him, he's going to find those soft spots. And I think that for Brady, it's not really as much on that offense. I think their offense can do things to stay with them. the weather doesn't concern me for either team, but I just think that Tampa Bay defense wasn't challenged by the Saints.
Yeah.
They weren't challenged. I mean, if you're not challenged, it's a whole different game, and you're not going to get those 4 turnovers. That just
doesn't happen.
The man got more what? The man got more touchdown passes than incompletions this year.
Yeah. That's why I say, man, this game right here, the teams are very similar. You know, Green Bay can run the ball enough with Aaron Jones. Tampa Bay can run it enough with Leonard Fournette. Devontae Adams, I think, is better than any of the wide receivers for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has the better receiving crew. The defenses are similar, but it's going to come down to Aaron Rodgers being more efficient than Brady. And, they're not going to get those 4 turnovers that they got last week. I think Green Bay wins this one in a close one, but Green Bay wins this game.
Yeah, and I think that they are a little bit healthier too. The Saints were missing, defensive linemen. They weren't at their peak in a number of ways. I'm not excusing that at all. The Saints played horrible football, and I thought Tampa was going to win that game.
Yeah,
I bet Tampa to win that game, but I think that it's different. I think that Tampa is more likely to have a turnover in this game than they were against the Saints as well, because you can get Tom Brady on those outs on the sideline. You can catch him there. He's thrown a couple of bad balls this season trying to get to the sideline, and I think that that's going to happen at least once in this game. And I don't see Aaron Rodgers making enough mistakes. That's what you have to hope for with him at this point in his career, is that he make mistakes? He won't do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've got Green Bay in that one. So we'll talk about it next week. But I think we're looking at Kansas City and Green Bay in the Super Bowl. In your
Buffalo.
Mind,
it's Buffalo and Green Bay.
I was just going to give it to you. In your mind, you said it's Green Bay and Buffalo. I sure hope you're wrong, man. I sure hope you're wrong. Because that doggone Sean McDermott, you talk about stuff going to his head, you ain't going to be able to tell him nothing. And to me, the best head coach named Sean is Sean Payton.
That's true.
It's Sean Payton.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we got to talk NBA. I watched the.
Can we talk about Hank Aaron before we go to NBA?
Yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about Hank first, and then we'll go.
Run out. Yeah, because I'd rather miss out on NBA that's going on than to miss out on Hank Aaron.
I did. I watched your Pelicans last night, but we'll talk about that later. That news shocked me when I came in. My dad took me to a Reds-Braves game, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't even really understand what I was watching. I didn't understand the greatness that I was seeing in Hank Aaron. And I remember watching the television when he hit the 700, broke the record for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it all came back to me. It's like, I saw him play. But to hear that he passed today, man, that took breath out my body. It did.
He is, in my mind, the most underappreciated baseball player of all time. And people say, well, why do you say that? Because he's the home run champ. Everybody knows he's the home run champ. Look at the other stuff, like the consistency and the greatness. He has the 3,000 hits.
Right.
He's number 1 in total bases. He's
right.
number 1 in runs scored. Up until Ricky Henderson passed it by. He was number 1 in almost every major category that you could have. And he was a home run hitter who never hit 50 home runs in a season.
Right. Very high in games played too. A lot of folks don't notice that.
And people, and over the years, learning his story, knowing the boy from Mobile, Alabama, batting wrong, having his hands cross-fisted when he first learned how to bat, and just that's how he created that incredible wrist strength as he got older from batting completely wrong.
Instead of this, that
they thought he was an infielder before he became a right fielder. And I became aware of him. Obviously his career was at the end when I was in my infancy. You know what I mean? He was winding down, finishing up with the Milwaukee Brewers, I think, when I was just a kid. but I got to know who he was as a figure from watching the old home run derbies on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Remember they'd show those old shows, and it'd be him and Rocky Colavito, Willie Mays, and Duke Snyder, and all these guys hitting home runs. And you got to listen to that country drawl and things like that, of Hank Aaron. And then as I got older and being the type of person that I am, the person who loves to research and learn about sports, knowing that he played in the Negro Leagues and that he was part of those last few classes of Negro League players, the Don Newcombs and that group, Willie Mays, all of them that came in that last group from the Negro Leagues and going into Major League Baseball, and what he endured as a Milwaukee Brave. And of course, what we know about his life as he approached Babe Ruth's record, and how that just magnified the threats on his life and the challenges that he faced. And through all of that, we have so many times we have to say how he handled that with dignity and grace and poise. But I also am glad that he held on to his anger and his bitterness too, because it was a righteous anger and a righteous bitterness, much the same way that Oscar Robertson carries.
Right. Yeah.
And you need that. We needed that reminder of the failures of baseball to protect him, to revere him, and to protect those black players that now it's kind of co-opting in this day, as we see Major League Baseball adding the Negro League records and muting their history actually even more.
Right.
So,
yeah, a lot of folks haven't been paying attention to that. They claim that they're verifying the numbers, and all they're doing is tamping the numbers down.
What matters the most, though, for Hank Aaron to me is that the only good thing that Bud Selig ever did as commissioner is name the Hank Aaron Award.
Right.
Because he deserved that. He deserves to be recognized as one of the greatest players who ever lived. And he deserves to be more respected than just as the home run king. And he's also a person that served a lot of young ball players. He fought to make sure, to the day he died, getting more African Americans in baseball was part of his life.
I'm just looking at that. I was in 4th grade when I saw Hank Aaron play. And I remember it because if we have perfect attendance, we get tickets to the Reds games. And my dad was looking at the thing. He said, "No, pick that Atlanta game." I'm like, "I want to go see the Dodgers." And pick that Atlanta game. And sure enough, we went. And that's when he was leaning over, telling me about Hank Aaron. And it was later that season that he broke the record. And like I said, I was like, we went and saw him play. That was my. But then as I got older and I saw, what he went through, and then I flashed back to that night when he hit that home run, and those guys came out on the field and were trying to pat him on the back, not realizing that he had suffered death threats. And those guys could have came down there to hurt him. And all Hank did was kind of shrug him off. But I mean, he literally his life was in danger that night, in that moment. And there was still not enough security around him to keep these people off the field from getting around him. And then to hear him speak out about various different issues. Again, as I got older enough to understand them, everything that Pete Rose wasn't, everything that Barry Bonds wasn't, everything that Ty Cobb wasn't, everything that Babe Ruth wasn't, Hank Aaron was. Hank Aaron was. And like you said, he should be remembered for far more than just being a home run king. He was a humanitarian. He was a person that spoke up for those who couldn't speak up for himself. He was one of the first people to use his platform and his voice for others who would never get on a platform like that or be as revered when he spoke. And it took those many years for me to understand that about him. And I'm not knocking Jim Brown or any of those, where those guys were quiet, Hank Aaron found a way to speak up, even in the South.
And another person, in that baseball history, you understand again the importance of his family too.
Yeah.
His wife Billy. She and Rachel Robinson, as far as having to be to what they endured as spouses, and it's not uncommon. Again, the sad thing is there are dozens of Rachel Robinsons in some regard. But the fact that they lived with these things and have carried these things on and were there in the fulcrum of this furnace while their husbands were trying to do a job.
Good job, right?
Like you would think that there's no job that you should do that should be this stressful, especially when that job is entertainment.
Right.
You know, this is entertainment, and we're talking about people wanting to murder your husband, and in turn, you are in danger simply because you love that person.
Yeah.
And going to those games and living and seeing that and all of that. Those women, you know, Rachel Robinson and Billy Aaron, you got to give them, again, send all of your support to Billy Aaron today, because she lost her best friend.
Yeah.
And she lived as much of those things in a lot of ways as he did.
Yeah. I just, man, again, that one took my breath away when we were coming in, because that was the one. You know, that was the one. I didn't get a chance to go and try to get his autograph, but I knew when I tried to get Willie Stargell's autograph, my dad said, "What do you know about him?" What do you mean? He plays for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They call him Pop. He's like, no. You're not gonna bother that man. You go learn something about him. You go study about him, and then we'll come back. And then when you go up and you ask him for his autograph, you look him in the eye, you call him Mr. Stargell, and you share something with him, and he will enjoy giving you his autograph and not just give you his autograph. Man, I had studied Hank Aaron like crazy when I knew my dad was going to take me to that game, just in case I was going to get a chance to get his autograph. And studying people like Hank Aaron and their stats back then, where you had to get the newspaper and you had to get a little notepad and kind of pull their stuff out and add it up and average it out. That's how me and my dad would do math together. You know, it helped me sit here in this chair. It helped me sit in this chair. It helped me get a degree in math, computer science. It helped me get a master's in math, computer science. That's where it all started for me. And Hank Aaron was the first one, not that I was told to do it, the one I wanted to do it with, because I wanted to meet this man my dad was so excited about going to see.
When you think about the power in that number 44, you know, the players who came afterwards who wore it because of him, you know, Reggie Jackson switched to 44 after he left Oakland. It was Hank Aaron. You know, who else are you going to be? If you're going to be a power hitter and you rock that 44, it means something. And, you know, retired by 2 franchises, and just the game of baseball never gave him everything that he was due, but he gave baseball everything he had.
That's true. That's true. He was an ambassador for a game that wasn't as kind to him.
Same with Willie Mays.
Yeah.
He and Willie Mays have to look at this and say, and baseball is a sport that's supposed to live on these things, but they don't get the, you know, Ted Williams got to be introduced as the greatest hitter that ever lived, and Joe DiMaggio, while he was alive, got to be introduced as the world's greatest living ball player. Remember? Yep. Everywhere Joe DiMaggio went, he was, that's how he was introduced. The world's greatest living ball player, Joe DiMaggio. Everywhere Ted Williams went, the greatest hitter there ever was, Ted Williams. Nobody gives that same kind of reverence to those men, and it's just, I think Hank Aaron is just so, and I would say Stan Musial to a large degree too. His accomplishments are overlooked, but Hank Aaron in a much different way, and in a much more significant way because of what that barrier meant. Him breaking that Babe Ruth, that's the first one that they would say that was the most hallowed record in baseball.
Right.
And to be held by a black person.
Right.
And still to be held now by one. It's something that America was not ready to handle, and we still see that America's not ready to handle a lot of these things still today.
Well, I will say this again, no shade at Barry Bonds. Hank Aaron is the home run king.
Always.
Hank Aaron is the home run king. Yeah.
Always.
Barry Bonds' name might be on it, but Hank Aaron is the home run king. Hank Aaron was, well, you know, somebody else has the title Mr. Baseball, but Hank Aaron is baseball. Hank Aaron is baseball for everybody.
He's the link. He and Frank Robinson, you know, we've lost them in the last couple of years, and it's just, they were those links to the period from where there was nothing for blacks in professional baseball, in Major League Baseball, so to speak. But they were the link from all those eras. Yeah. They had been the consistents because they kept working. You know, whether it was Hank working for the Braves or Frank on the field as a manager, as a consultant, they were the link, and they passed that on, that institutional knowledge, to other young black ball players about what it means to be in this game. And you're losing those men, you're losing those voices. And I hope somebody is doing a good job of that in the big leagues right now, of passing that information on still, because it has to be preserved, that wisdom, that knowledge that those guys had.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for those who might be just tuning in, Hank Aaron passed away today, age of 86, in Atlanta, Georgia. And definitely going to be missed. Definitely going to be missed. A lot of young people, man, if you did not get a chance to see him and all you've heard is that he's the home run king, go deeper. Go deeper, dig deeper, and find out more about him than just what you've heard. Trust me, you'll thank me. You'll thank me. David, we got to get ready to go. Man, long time, bro. I appreciate you, man. Like I said, it had to be you today. So much to cover, and so very few people can go from one topic to the next without me having to lay it out for you before we get together. I mean, you flow with the best of them, man. And I saw two brothers complimenting each other on Twitter yesterday, and I said, man, I'm just loving the exchange between you two and the respect that's being shown and the appreciation for each other's talents. And I say that same thing to you, man. I appreciate you. I respect you. I love your gift. I love when I see other people love on you with the stuff that you post. I love when I see your milestones. You know, again, we've been here. We've been here. You know, you were here early in this beginning of this show. You know, I've been there for you, man, and to see where you are now, even through the dark parts where we thought, you know, that might be it. They took it away, bro. You have you've gone higher and higher and higher. And listen, I don't know who our one night in Miami crew is, but you and me are definitely in that room, bro. You and me are definitely in that room. We probably have a couple of sisters in there with us. You know, Kelsey Nicole Nelson or Carolina Blitz. But man, there's some good folks out there, David. You're definitely one of them, bro.
And like I couldn't do any of this. I couldn't have gotten this far without, you know, support from you, from the people who listen to this show, who have listened to my pod, and again, even if they're not even listening all the time, just the motivation of saying, you know, I appreciate what you do and keep doing it. It's humbling for me because I do not take praise well. So when I get it, I am really humbled by it. Because I would do this regardless, quite honestly, and I think you would too. I would do this because I feel like I have something I got to let out. But that the fact that it resonates and that people care enough to listen to it, that's not something I take lightly, because all these folks who invest their time every day to listen to you, to listen to me, we owe them something, man. Yeah. If you don't give me your time, I better give you something worth using it on.
You nailed it. That's the truth right there. I appreciate people, you know, greeting me, let alone spending 2 hours out of their day. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, David. I do. I appreciate you, man. Tell everybody the real deal, where they can find you, follow you, and keep up with what you got coming up next.
Yeah, at DM Grubb on Twitter and Instagram, and of course the website hitpwithdg.com. I was supposed to be doing some Tulane games this week, but COVID done gone through the green wave, so a couple postponements. But you can always check me out on ESPN Plus covering Tulane Green Wave basketball, men and women, and Pelicans taking on Minnesota tomorrow. So I'll be dealing with that mess and seeing if they can finally snap this losing streak and get something going. But they're out of whack. The team is out of whack, and it's not all on the coaching. This is a bad mix of players, and I think David Griffin has a lot of questions to answer to. But the Pelicans ain't going nowhere.
What was funny last night was they had Griffin in the middle of like a little diagram chart, like he was the mafia kingpin, and these are all the folks and I'm like, yeah, you're right. He's responsible for all this nonsense. So
yeah, and they 5-9. So what does that tell you? Yeah. You know, like all this genius stuff, and you're 5-9. They weren't supposed to be 5-9. They didn't come here to be 5-9. And I will appreciate this. David Gundy called them dudes out last night to tell them, y'all don't know how to play no defense, and they don't. They don't try. They don't try with defense. They're terrible.
Let me close with this. At least y'all not the Rockets.
At least the Rock's entertaining. Y'all entertaining. You got Christian Wood. He's entertaining.
Are we?
You know,
Are we really?
not as bad as it seems. It could be worse. James could still be there.
In the words of the great Negro poet Victor Oladipo, be patient with us. Be patient.
Hey, and shout out to Vernon Maxwell, who was on Twitter defending the honor of Akeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
All these people talking about that James was the Houston GOAT, and that ain't even a conversation. It's not even something that you can entertain if you have you can't even entertain that.
Right.
It's Olajuwon by so far.
Yep.
It's not like it's not even in the on your horizon. People have no idea how deep the love for Akeem Olajuwon is.
It's a different clearance level to get in that room that Olajuwon's in. And Harden didn't have it. Nobody else had it.
Ain't nobody is in that room. Ain't nobody in Akeem's room.
Yeah. Mad Max is a great follow on Twitter, man. Mad Max is a great follow on Twitter. And he responds back to you. You can get in conversations with him. So
he's a real one.
All right, brother. Enjoy the family. How's the house working out? Do I need to come and tighten up any screws or put any floorboards down, anything?
No, it's starting to come together more and more. Like I think my office, I'm still not ready to unveil it yet, but it's coming together. The house is bit by, the process. It's bit by bit.
You got a couple of hands over here that's looking to get out on that open road. So let me know when I can come through.
Well, yeah, you'll come when it's warmer and you can get in the pool, I guess.
Brother, now you're talking my language. David, have a blessed, safe weekend, man. We'll talk to you again real soon, all right?
Be the same. Love to you.
All right, man. Love you too. David Grubb, y'all, host of Hard in the Paint, CrescentCitySports.com. We got to get ready to go. Let me remind you that if you are a CDL licensed driver with a good driving record and a TWIC card, there is a reputable company that is looking to talk with you. Their number, 832-767-3211. That's 832-767-3211. If you or someone you know has a CDL driver's license with a good driving record and a TWIC card, they are interested in talking to you. Again, that number, 832-767-3211. 832-767-3211. Rockets made a move last night to pick up Kevin Porter Jr. from Cleveland in a trade. Porter was the 30th pick in the first round of 2019, averages about 10 points a game in limited minutes with the Cavaliers, has some off-court issues, but John Lucas is a master at that. So hopefully they'll get this young man squared away. They'll be at Detroit tonight at 6. Spurs will host the Mavs at 7:30. Utah beat New Orleans 129-118. Zion had 27 in the loss. NFC Championship game, Green Bay at Tampa Bay. No, Green Bay hosting Tampa Bay. That'll be Sunday, 2:05 on Fox. AFC Championship game, Kansas City hosting Buffalo, 5:40. Don't forget, if you're in the Keeping Up with the Joneses Pick'em Challenge Playoff Edition, I got to have your picks on Sunday by 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Sunday. AJ at KYOKSports.com or text them 832-403-5005. As always, let's not be divided. Let's be united. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it, but stay masked up.
The legendary 1140 AM KYOK Conroe and 92.3 FM K222CX Houston. Are you ready?
All right, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Me and David haven't been able to hang out in a while, so it was good being here with him. Y'all have a good one as always, and not this, definitely this. I love you. Nothing you can do about it. Wear your mask, wash your hands, sanitize everything around you. Be sensitive to everybody around you. Give them their 6 feet. And when you see that racism thinking and actions and words, kill it. Not the person, but that way of thinking. Those words, those actions. Got to move on from all of this stuff, man. Y'all want to talk about unifying? Let's unify on that. All right? Blessed and safe weekend. We'll talk to y'all. Talk to you soon. Take care.